Welcome to r/EntitledKids. Here we share stories about spoiled and whiny kids you've encountered to feel better. Today I will present 3 stories. It is your choice to believe these stories or not.
Choking on spit syndrome is NT like COVID-19 you brats. Anyone has permission to post this story on their channel for others to hear. Cast, me/dragon_crystal equals myself, cashier equals gas station employee, and EK1 and 2 aka many Karens equals teenager entitled girls. So this happened before Thanksgiving of last year when I was shopping for lunch since I had to work the next day and it was my day off. I'm looking scanning the drinks for a certain energy drink that might keep me energized for when I'm running drinks for the event guests. Yes, I was wearing a mask while doing this. I pull out my phone cause I thought I'd get something for my brothers since I was there. They told me what they wanted and I go back to looking at the energy drinks. I must have inhaled my spit or something cause I started coughing heavily, but didn't pull my mask down and kept it covering my face. Everyone else around me is staring and keeping their distance, which is understandable. Then I hear off to the side of where I'm standing, over my coughing surprisingly. Mini Karen 1, she's got the virus. Mini Karen 2, yeah, we better not go near her, we might caught it and die. Mini Karen 1, but I'm too young to die and much too pretty. I'm done coughing, place my stuff outside the bathroom and slip inside to wash my hands and sanitize the inside of my mask a bit. Afterwards I come back out and proceed to walk to the register to check out. As it reaches my turn, I place all my stuff and my brother's thing onto the counter to be scanned. Mini Karens get in line behind me and loudly proclaims, if I were you I wouldn't ring her up, since we just heard her coughing just over there, she must have the virus to be coughing up that much. Cashier, also masked, gives me a slightly nervous look. I shake my head and while pointing to my mask and saying, I covered into my mask, not on my hand, but I notice the other employees goes over to take a look at where I was coughing at and comes back over looking relieved. Mini Karen 1, she could be lying, so you better go sanitize that whole area down, just in case. Mini Karen 2, yeah, you never know cause she's Asian and it's because of Asians that this virus st. Me, annoyed at that racist comment, I might be Asian but I've never left the country, so you can't blame all Asian people for starting the virus. And I'm positive that asthma isn't contagious, cause I grow up with it, and having a minor cough attack doesn't mean I'm infected, and yet I'm willing to hear this mask to keep from caughing it myself, even if it's making breathing harder for a former asthmatic. After saying that I thank cashier, take my things and walk off to the side table to pack my stuff into my backpack, only to hear Mini Karen 1 say she's just making up random fake illness up so that she doesn't have to admit that she's got COVID. Cashier, actually she isn't lying about asthma, it's real, but most people just don't need the medication for it as they grow older, but just because they don't need the medication anymore doesn't mean they won't have attacks anymore. Mini Karen 2, I've never heard of such BS before, are you sure you know what you're talking about? Cashier, I sure know more than you do, and I'm going to ask you to leave cause you're being highly rude to someone who might have medical issues. Now please leave. Mini Karens, pouts, but we want to pay some snacks. Cashier, then pay and get out or just leave. I decide to finish packing up as many Karens are distracted, quickly sanitize my hands with the sanitizer next to the table and slip outside to head home. I don't know what happened to the mini Karens or cashier, but I'm grateful that she was a kind person for standing up for former asthmatic people and for distracting the brats. Who knows if the brats were going to harm me as I was leaving. I'm just glad I made it home safely. Since I haven't seen cashier the next few times I went back there to shop for lunch.
How I found out my nice cousin ended up being an SP/EK. This happened when I was 12 and I went to stay with my cousins for a sleepover. There are 5 characters, me/op, NK, 1 year younger than me, EK, back then she was 6, and their parents, CM and CD. There were a lot of incidents that made me change my view on her eventually. NK used to make fun and bully EK, but most of the time when I look back on it, NK was just pulling her leg and being generally funny, while EK used to get angry and kick him, NK got angry and kicked him, and so on. In our country, beating children was a common thing in our families. My mom and dad did beat me up, but TBH I was pretty lazy back then, only doing work when I wanted to waste time. The worst injury I got was when my dad hit me with a mop so hard it broke, but immediately he realized what he had done, and asked sorry for 2 hours straight. In my cousin's family, the worst he got was a slap on the back or arm. This is important as EK was the golden child, and never got beat up because CM was not allowed to do it by CD. CD basically spoiled her. On the first day, I stuck up for her because she didn't act like a crotch goblin or a she-devil, like my cousin told me so. Boy was I wrong. The first incident happened when NK told me he had Netflix, and I didn't. Dad didn't buy because back then it wasn't that common. EK called me a poor hobo who deserved to live on the streets, and I took that like a champ, and fired a glare. She calls CM and ruins her drawing and tells, Op ruined my drawing because, and I quote, I told him he could improve his drawing. I was scared but NK came through, we're really close, and told, no, CM, EK called Op a hobo and a person deserving to live on the streets. She screams, heads into the room, and ruins my suitcase, with clothes, towels, underwear, and made it look like it fell down. Stomps her feet and screams so loud that I decided to head out and could still hear it. My mom was actually scary, and she would have literally scolded her if she didn't allow it. She didn't follow her traditions. And she was rude about it. I don't want to follow them because they are for idiots was just some of the things she said. The worst thing wasn't the fact that she told that, but instead called us idiots for following it. The second incident was when she spilled her lunch over the sofa, and had the nerve to tell CM that I had spilled it. Luckily, for me when she had come out of the room, I had already finished eating and CM already spotted my empty plate, so EK was scolded again and was told to clean her mess. She looked at me while cleaning pleadingly, and I was too lazy to say no, so I just cleaned it properly, like seriously, who cleans sauce with a broom? The third was the worst one so far, as CM had gone out and CD, the one who spoiled EK, was there. We were playing Uno, she won thrice against me, and when I won once, and it still boggles me to this day, how she managed to say this, but she literally said, "Dad, Op told that I would put the blame of my mess on her and that I was lying so that she would be scolded," but NK came to my support. Though it was made up for by the fact that I supposed to leave on a Tuesday as I had classes during the halls, my mom told me that I could leave on a Wednesday, and she came on Wednesday and stayed till Thursday cause she had to go somewhere, and ever since then, me and NK keep our distance from EK. Entitled Little Turd at my old primary school that was ableist. Backstory: before I get into this story, I'd like to say that this kid wasn't the only one. There were a lot of prejudice back in my old school, not extreme prejudice involving actual segregation but really crappy curriculum where the teachers did nothing to stop it, whether if they witnessed it or if it was someone reporting it to the teachers, nothing and not enough was done about it. The prejudice mainly involved really shallow children bullying younger kids over things that they probably shouldn't. The bullying didn't have to be direct, and make no mistake when I say that the bullying I went through was direct, but what I witnessed wasn't direct, but it was not an excuse, it was downright offensive. To start of the story, the kid I saw was bullied. I will not name but I'll call him BC, bullied child, and I'll call the bullies ET, entitled Turd, and his two friends that laughed about it ETF1 and 2, entitled Turd's friends 1 and 2. Also another thing about ETF1 and ETF2 weren't exactly the biggest bullies in school, but there were still bullies. So I was around grade 4 when this happened. It was break time. I was walking outside minding my own business until I saw my classmate BC hanging out with ETF1 and ETF2 by the ledge of the entrance of the office next to the sliding doors. Now if they were at the office, there'd obviously be teachers witnessing this, but most of the teachers were on yard duty, yet the teachers who weren't on yard duty would be having lunch in the staff room or something, which is in the office. BC was standing up talking to them like it was a normal day, and ET tried to teach BC a dance move that was actually kind of inappropriate. He literally gave him instructions to do an extremely offensive sign. He made BC contort his wrist and hit it on his chest repeatedly. I was astonished and angry that they made him do that because BC not only has a mild disorder, I don't know what it is, I just know he does cause I used to know his older brother who does too, and I myself have mild autism. I remember when I was in grade 3 a kid in my grade 3 class did this in front of me and I had no idea what it meant and thought it was supposed to be a funny joke, and I actually copied him for a while until another classmate told me not to and told me that it pokes fun at people with disabilities. A year later, knowing what it meant and witnessing it again, I was offended. I decided then that later when the bell rings I will go to class to tell my teacher. So when the bell rings, and everyone is in class, I raise my hand. The teacher asked me what was wrong and I told her, but when I did, she for some reason had no idea what it meant, and when I told her that it pokes fun at people with disabilities she was skeptical as well as the rest of the class, including BC. What do you think? Tell me in the comments what you thought about these stories. And do you have any stories of your own?